Started. So structural engineering, we were discussing about the various disciplines of civil engineering. Starting with, we discussed about what is surveying, what are the instruments used in surveying. Now there are eight disciplines, and you will get a question on this. Out of eight, any two will be asked. So you should know how to write, because it is theory. You'll be writing it as a don't write it as a paragraph. Try to make points and write. Try to remember the points also in order, like what is surveying, and surveying also is called as art of map making. What are the instruments used in surveying? Initially they were using chain and tapes. Now they have come up with recent instruments like theodolite and dumpy levels, theodolites, or total stations. And surveying is nothing but wherein we will be measuring the horizontal and the vertical distances, right? So these all should come in point formats. Do not please write it in paragraphs. Next, coming to building materials, the materials that are used in building construction. So you can mention all the materials that are used now. Like you have cement, sand. That is, sand is called as fine aggregate, and then coarse aggregates, right? Wood, glass, admixtures, chemicals I was talking of the other day, bricks, right? And initially they used to use mud, and then we have reinforced cement concrete where steel is also used. So steel into concrete makes it RCC, reinforced cement. So all that. Okay. Then structural engineering. Have we spoken of structural? I think yes, we were talking of this dead load and live load. Remember? So dead load are the ones which are permanently there, and the structure's self weight becomes a dead load, and live loads are the ones which keep fluctuating. For example, I was giving, I think, the example of your classroom and students. So when students, the day before internals, because you do mass bunk, so the attendance is low, and live load is there, reduced, because all students are not there. And same way, when after internals 1 or 2 days, you will see that there are lots of students attending the classes. So there your live load would be full, right? Something like that. So dead load and live load example, that was. Don't write this example in the examinations, please. I give such weird examples at times only for you to make understand, or else never write such examples in the blue books or even in the external examinations. Then, for example, live loads are what? Your earthquake loads are live loads, snow loads are live loads, wind loads. When I'm talking of a very high building, high rise building, so the wind pressure as you go, even you must have noticed now. If you must have seen G+3, G+4 buildings, no? So at the ground level, there is no wind pressure, but when you go on the terrace, you can feel the wind pressure, right? So similarly, when you go on a very high rise building, the wind pressure is too much. So the building which is tall or height is more, as we go higher and higher, there would be wind pressure which we have to account while we are designing. So that all dead loads and live load combination will be done, and then for that total load a design will be done. That all comes under structural engineering, where they will be dealing with all the stresses and strains. So you all are I think you know the word stress and strain, right? You have done it in your PUC. Stress is induced because of the load application. So whenever there is a load, there is going to be a stress coming into picture, right? So stress and strain we have to check out, and then we have to design the building. So that all comes under structural engineering. So I'll be sharing this PPT also. Everything is written over here. Then comes environmental engineering. Had I started environmental engineering or no? Can anyone tell me? Had I
Yes,
started?
ma'am. Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
did I finish this? Must be. I don't. Okay, well, in short, I take up. So, environmental engineering is becoming important because of the current climatic conditions. Okay, and it is one of the most burning issue now. So, if anybody is interested in further doing anything related to environmental, will be like a boon, because there are lots of environmental issues going on. Addressing those problems has become very important, right? So, in environmental engineering, they deal with the pollutions, pollutants, right? Why pollution is caused? Because of the pollutants. Then, how to treat those pollutants? So, solid waste management, wet waste management, or your sewage that has to be discarded, right? So how to manage that? All this will be studied in your environmental engineering. Along with that, also to solve the problems of the society in an engineering way. So we have to, because now in this area especially, there are many issues coming up. So it becomes a very important topic, and all the environmental engineers are going to deal with it. People are still joining the meeting. It becomes difficult for me to flip. Okay. So that is all about your environmental engineering. Coming next to geotechnical engineering. Okay. So geo means soil, right? GEO, geotechnical. Geo means soil. So geotechnical engineering is a branch of civil engineering where we will be studying the properties of soil. Now, why soil is important? Can anyone tell me? Why property of a soil becomes important for me? Yes, please unmute and tell. Okay, you feel soil is important as a civil engineer. When I'm doing civil engineering, when I'm constructing, soil becomes important. Yes or no? You tell me first. If you feel no, you tell no. It's okay. Is soil important? I think yes. You should unmute and tell. Till then, I'm not going to go to the next slide. Why do you think soil is important in civil engineering? I have some 40 plus students. Please unmute and tell.
To bind materials.
To bind materials. No, not exactly. Where is your building standing? All of you. Where are you constructing your building? On
Ground.
what ground? Are you constructing on water? No, no. Water also there is there. I don't deny. But majority, we are constructing it on the ground, right? Or are you constructing something which is floating in air? Ground? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So ground means what? Soil, no? Ground is nothing but your soil. Now, how many types of soils do you know? Color wise also you can tell me. I don't mind. I don't want the actual names. How many types of soils you know? Or you can tell me the colors of soils that you have seen.
Red soil, loamy soil, clay
Yes,
soil,
yes, correct. Red
sandy
soil,
soil.
sandy soil, very good. Right? So she gave so many examples of soil. Very good. I can't see your name over here, but then good information. Others, at least you have seen brown soil and a red soil and a black soil colors.
Yes,
Black
ma'am.
cotton soil is important, right? So there is a statement also, if you have heard, I don't know. They say black cotton soil is good or a friend of farmers. Agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Black cotton soil is called as a friend of farmers, but there is a continuation to the statement that it is an enemy of engineers. The total statement is black cotton soil is a friend of farmers and enemy of engineers because constructing a building on black cotton soil is very difficult or it is dangerous. It is not impossible. We have to take extra care when we have a black cotton soil or constructing a building over a black cotton soil because of the soil properties. So geotechnical engineering is a field where we will be dealing with all the properties of a soil. Okay. And it is the most important field because your entire structure won't stand if you do not know the properties of the soil, right? Whatever structure you take, when I'm telling it is a high rise building, whether I'm telling it is a bridge that is there, whether I'm telling if it is a rail track, whatever is there, so the load that is coming on the structure ultimately goes to the soil, right? Because of the gravity. When you have a structure, the load is going down because of the gravity. There is whatever load is acting, whether it is dead load, whether it is live load, whether it is earthquake load, ultimately everything goes down to the soil. So your soil should be in such a condition which will be able to take that load. So I should know the bearing capacity of the soil. Here the term comes as bearing capacity of the soil. How you have your bearing capacity, matlab you can attend maximum 4 hours lectures in the college, right? Offline classes, to take an example. In that also, first class, your fine grasping level is better. Second class also, it is much better. Third hour, it has decreased. Fourth hour, it is gone on me. Fourth hour, you are not in a state to take any extra thing. Grasping level has gone totally. In that, if I announce a fifth hour of extra class, then that will be of no use, right? That is your bearing capacity. That is, you can attend only 4 hours in a day, not more than that. You need a break in between, right? Or you some other kind of class, but you will not be able to sit for a theory class fifth hour continuously. That is your capacity, right? Similarly, any material when I'm applying a load over it, it is going to take the load for some time and then it is going to break, right? So till it is able to sustain that load, that is called the bearing capacity. So in soil, we will be finding something called as the safe bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, meaning up to what extent it is able to withstand the load that is coming because of the structure. And why soil is important? Because when I'm talking of a building, you will have a foundation or a footing. You have seen when they construct houses, they dig and they first do the footing, and then they close it, and then the column starts, right? So the footing, or it is called as a foundation or a footing, it is where it is beneath the surface of the earth, right? It is designed like that. So whatever load is coming from the structure is going to that footing, and from the footing it is distributed towards the soil or towards the earth. That is what is the procedure. So for the entire structure to stand still, it is important that we know the properties of the soil, and that all comes under geotechnical engineering. So geotechnical engineering 1 and geotechnical engineering 2, there are 2 core subjects in BE Civil. Along with that, there is a geotechnical engineering lab in every civil department where they test these properties of the soil. So this is one of the most important disciplines according to me, because whatever we are talking of the structure will not stand only if I don't know the properties of the soil. Okay, so whenever they are constructing these buildings, so it is a must that they have to first go to that site and collect the soil samples and come. When I say go and collect the soil samples, you are simply not going to take that soil sample and come. There are different methods to do that. They have to dig a hole or a pit for up to 2 to 3 meters depending. Okay, and such, if it is a small site and say it is a square site, so all 4 corners there will be holes plus one at the center. Why this is done? Because if you have noticed, if you have anytime seen somebody has dug a pit, or if there was if you all were digging a pit for a well in your house, you will see layers of soil, right? So happens so that sometimes I will dig only one pit in a site, but there is, at a different distance, there is a layered soil, and the soil beneath is not strong enough. On one pit, I won't be able to consider that everywhere it is same. So minimum 5 pits have to be done, one at each corner and one at the center, checking the profile of the soil for at least 1.5 to 2 meters if it is a small building. And when the building becomes big, that is the high-rise building or important structure, then the foundation goes on going deeper. So we have to dig the hole and check the profile of the soil, and then carry that material to the lab and then test that soil material. So initially few layers you will see for the half meter, sometimes red soil. Uske niche you will have a black cotton soil, which is dangerous, because if somebody has dug only for half a meter, he'll think it is red soil and he designed for a red soil, whereas it is only the superficial soil. Bottom pe to there is black cotton soil, and your building is not going to sustain that, right? So it is important we have to dig. So there is procedure: dig a pit hole, carry the sample to the lab, and then calculates its safe bearing capacity. Based on that, once I know that okay, this is the bearing capacity of the soil, based on that I know the total load that is coming on the structure, that is dead load, live load, what are the stresses going to be there, what is the strain going to come in the structure, and now I know the bearing capacity of the soil. Now to match this, I will design the footing, whether I will go for a square type of a footing, whether I will go for a rectangular type of a footing, or there is something which is 2 footings together, okay, like that, or isolated footing. There are different names of footing. So these will be designed based on the soil bearing capacity and based on the load that is coming on the structure. So this is the most important thing over here, because it's all about the soil. 1 minute of the syllabus, I mean of this, apart from your theory, I will give you an example. Sambra, all of you must be knowing, bro. Here, Sambra airport we have. So Sambra region, there the soil is different. You know, the bearing capacity of the soil is different, and there few years ago, like say some 8 years ago, or even now, there is this problem. They construct the house, everything, and then there is settlement taking place. They call it as a settlement. Settlement means what? Somewhere the soil is settling. So what happens if there is a soft soil and then my footing is come exactly over that? So when I know there is a footing continuously to that, I will have a column. So the soft soil makes the footing to go bottom. Hence, the building is going to tilt, or there will be cracks developed in the buildings. Okay, you can sometimes see in some places the building has got a bit tilted. If you have noticed, if not, just observe nature beside, right? So there would be that. That was a major problem in Sambra. The entire that belt of soil is like that. Then it had come to one of the KLE consultants, and they were checking. They went and they got the properties, and they got to know that the soil there is, when the moment it comes in contact with water, it is losing its strength. Generally, when soil comes in contact with water, it will lose strength. We are aware of that. So there is a percentage of that. But this particular soil was losing its strength too much. I have also witnessed soil. It was a rock, like when they got it to the lab, it was total rock. I could not even scribble, or make those marks on it. It was that rock hard, and it had the density. That is the weight also. We cannot feel that it is easily breakable. Okay, by the physical appearance or by touching it, it was very strong soil. But the moment we held it below the tap water or just a water, within 1 second it collapsed. Something which was so hard, but when it went when it came in contact with water, it totally collapsed. So such is the nature. There are many kinds of soils, and there are many kinds of such incidents that come up. So it is very important to, whenever you are constructing a house, it is very important to collect the soil sample, and that person does a thorough investigation. Soil investigation has to be carried out, and then your building has to be constructed based on that. Calculate the safe bearing capacity. So further, if in future you all are going to construct houses, I know all are going to be engineers, so be careful about this. Also, one more incident I'll tell you. There was this site, and there was a well in this site. Okay, say person A was owning this site, and there was a well, and he didn't want, for some reasons he didn't want the well, and he closed the well. How they close the well? They will dump the mud and extra whatever is there they get, and they totally close the well. He closed the well, and this person A sold this site to a person B. Okay, and this person B did not ask any questions, and neither did A person tell him that there was a well and have closed it. Okay, so this fellow B, who has now taken the new site, is not aware of this well which is closed. Then he constructed his house, and unfortunately, where this well was there, his column came, or the footing came. Okay, so now imagine, do you agree that the soil where there is a well, that soil strength is going to be less compared to the other soil strength? Because other side's soil, it is intact, right? From so many years, it is intact. So the strength is going to be more. Whereas this one, its strength is going to be less because it is artificially closed now. So it is not having that impactness or contactness. So the moment there is a footing, and when you dig, or you dig it for the sake of the foundation, you will not realize that there was a well over here. Nobody will get to know until and unless it is told, right? So he has constructed the house also, but unfortunately, that footing and that column, placement came exactly at that point, and there was column settlement because it couldn't take load. Ultimately, there was a failure of the structure. Then that had come for the consultancy, that why this failed, why only one column failed. And then they did the geotechnical investigation. Everywhere the soil property was same, but why there it failed? And then they had to contact the person A and then try to get the information. That time he tells that there was a well, and I had closed the well. So it is important for you to also, when you're buying a site, to know about the site. Ask them whether there was a well or there was some kind of pit and which has been artificially closed. It's very important you gather such information also. This all will fall under geotechnical engineering. It is required in all aspects of civil engineering because most of the projects are supported by the ground. He may develop projects below the ground, such as tunnels, foundations, offshore platforms also. And then we have to analyze the properties of the soil and the rock which support them. And safe bearing capacity is important. Okay. Also, this becomes important in construction of dams and embankments. So dam, because water pressure, right? Whatever your dam is constructed, the water is standing on the other side and there is a downstream side. So water pressure will be there, and the standing water can also percolate through the soil bottom, right? So there also soil investigation becomes very important. So that is all about your geotechnical engineering. Next comes the transportation engineering. So transportation engineering means it covers all the data about your transportation. Now, when I say transportation, it is rails, it is your airways, and it is landways. All three are transportation. Okay. So when we are talking of landways, that is your roads come into picture. So these roads, what you see, they are designed. They're simply not laying the cement over there. I mean, we will not talk of reality, what is happening, or after 3 months, one rain, the road is gone. Let us leave that aside. But basically, the road is designed. It is not simply laid. Even if it is a tar road, you all are aware of what is a tar road. Dumber, they use that thing. So tar road, bitumen it is called in technical term, right? Even that road, there is a design for it. So that all design is studied in transportation engineering. On what basis it is going to be designed? It is designed based on the speed of the vehicle, the type of the vehicle, right? The weight of the vehicle. Now, you all are aware of the roads. Like there is a road in front of your house. All of you, for example, there is a road in front of your house. Do you think that road is going to be same as that road of your Congress road or Third Gate road? I want somebody to unmute and answer. Okay. The road in front, right in front, when you step out of your house, there is a road in front of your house. Compare that road with the Congress road or the RPD road or your Third Gate road. Is it going to be same?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, because Congress Road and RPD Road, there are a lot of vehicles going on at high speed, and there are many trucks, buses going on here. And these
Exactly.
what we have here in front of our house, the local roads.
Yes, correct. So, based on the requirement, it is going to be designed. So, when I'm talking of the road in front of my house, I know that maximum two-wheelers are going to, regularly two-wheelers and four-wheelers are going to pass. Once in a while, some truck might come if it has to unload some material, once in a while. So, and speed is what? Speed is less. In the front of my house, I'm not going to ride at 50, 60. I'll go and hit somebody, right? So I will be at a speed of 20, 30 only in front of my house. So that road where design is less, design speed is less, the load from the vehicles is less. So it will be designed accordingly for that. And even the lane, single lane road. There are single lane roads, 2-lane roads, 4-lane roads, right? That is how many vehicles are passing at a time. So at 3.3 meters, generally 3.5 meters or 3 meters is how much is the width of the road generally. Okay, simple example I'm taking. So in front of a house, you're going to find that. But when I'm talking of a RPD road or a Third Gate road, it is a highway. You will have state highway, national highway, right? So they all are coming under that. What is happening over there? There are heavy trucks, heavy loaded vehicles passing by, right? So I have to design it for that. The speed limit over there is going to be all by default above 50. So then when I'm talking of the speed of the vehicle, the speed and the road, there is friction going to come into picture, and that has to be designed. So the roads are simply not laid over there. This is a branch of civil engineering after engineering. They do MTech in transportation engineering, where they will learn about these designs. Also, apart from that, now there is so much of heavy congestion, traffic taking place. So then how do I reduce this traffic apart from the signals? So that is why this flyover came into picture. Right now, there's the flyover going on at the Third Gate, or the flyover which has already been constructed near your Kapileshwar Mandir. Right? Why that has been constructed? So that the traffic is reduced. There was below that Kapileshwar flyover, you had that railway line. And whenever there was a train passing by, and there was lots of congestion of traffic taking place. So now they made a flyover wherein the traffic is got distributed on top and bottom. So these are the techniques, or these are the methodologies that are going to be used in transportation engineering. Now this I was giving a simple example of road. There are some in roads also, there is something called as, apart from your state highway, national highway, something called as expressways. Expressways is going to be faster than your national highways. So the speed is very fast. So there are set of rules, like both the sides of the road they have to put mesh, because animals are not permitted, because the vehicles are at a very high speed. Them animals might come in between and there could be an accident taking place, right? And the materials that is going to be used, and by default on these highways and all, you cannot drive at a speed of 20-30. Okay, when I'm talking of a national highway or an express highway, it demands of a speed which is more than 60 or 70. So if I'm going to drive there at a speed of 20-30, somebody will come and hit me for sure. So there is a speed limit also. So you have to follow the speed limits also. And type of vehicles that are passing. Third gate type of vehicles is different. Third gate, or while coming to our Jain college, there is heavy, all heavy loaded vehicles are passing. That only if I'm going to take a Angold road or Bhagyanagar road, I don't have heavy vehicles passing over there. So based on that requirement, the roads will be designed and constructed. Apart from roads, then comes the rails. In railways, if you have ever felt or noticed when if say by chance at third gate, when there is the gate has closed and so you're waiting for the train to pass, can you feel those vibrations? Have you felt those vibrations?
Yes,
I hope.
ma'am.
Yeah, you can literally feel when you're standing in front of the gate, when the train passes, you will feel the vibrations. It is transferred. So imagine that rail which is there over there, it is getting such high amount of tremendous in type of load that is coming over it. Plus it is impact. Now the sudden load that is coming, there is two different types of load. One which is just applied, and one is sudden applied. Sudden applieds are called as impact loadings. Okay, so train is an impact load. It comes suddenly and it goes, and it is there for a duration. After that, it is gone. Right? So train and those rails have to be designed for that. Rails you have seen two tracks, right? Between of the tracks there are this planks, rectangular planks. Those are called as sleepers. Okay, it is called as a sleeper. It has got a purpose why it is over there. It will be absorbing the energy, right? Apart from that, there are stones. Those stones are called as ballasts, ballasts. Those ballasts are also to absorb the energy which is coming because of the impact of the train, right? So these all have got some purpose and they all are designed like that. Now those actually stones which are there, no ballasts, they have to be replaced on an average. When I have a stone over there and daily pass or a train is passing, so it is going to lose its energy, right? So they have to be replaced. And after replacing means I have to take it out and have to put new ballasts over there. Now, when the old ones are taken out, they are trying to use it somewhere else, recycling the materials, construction materials. So this is a chain. Nothing should go waste, right? So that is all about your train and sleepers and ballasts. You can see here in the left bottom picture, there is a track and there are the sleepers, right? So these are the tracks and these are sleepers. Tracks, it is made up of steel, and imagine it has to undergo that much of loading that is coming over it, and these are the sleepers, right? So there is a design for this also. Then there are curves. If you have ever noticed, you all are traveled in the train, so if you are sitting at the back of the train, back matlab ekdam piche bogie of the train, engine is very far front, okay, and when you're looking through the window, you can see if there is a curve, you can see the train going, you can see the entire curve like that. The engine can be seen if you have observed outside the window. So that means there is a curve over there. So whenever that curve is there, no, simply they are not going to lay it in a type of a curve. It is designed, a curve is designed based on the profile of the ground. If it is a hilly region, then you will find that roads which are like that, which are curved in nature. And the moment curve is coming, there will be a radius to the curve, and based on the radius, they design the roads. So roads are not very simple. It is a complicated thing, to design a curve, or when there is a hilly region. If you have traveled to any of the hilly areas or even Ghat section, how are the roads? Curves, no? Yeah, whenever you are going to Goa and all, how are the roads? Curves. You enjoy the drive, but have you ever thought why it is a curve? If it was a straight road, you can't climb on top if it is a hilly region. So for me to climb from bottom on the hill, I need it in form of a curve. Then is where I will be able to climb or I will be able to get down. That is why the curves are there. And each of the curve is going to be designed because of this what kind centrifugal forces. When you sit in a tora tora or the disco dance in your fun fair, when you're sitting and when it is revolving, you're going out or you're coming in? what happens? You're sitting, say, to you and your friend, and there is a center thing, and that it revolves like this. You're thrown out or you're pushed in. Out. So when I'm talking of a curve, that the same thing is going to be happening with the road, with the vehicle also. There will be that force coming into picture, centrifugal force, and because of which centripetal force, because of which the vehicle is going to be either thrown out or got in. So then the road has to be designed for that force also. So that all will come under transportation. Apart from rails and roads, your airports. Okay, aeroplanes we are not interested. Airports, because the flight is that is your plane is going to land and take off. So when it is landing, such big vehicle, when it lands, there is going to be impact. Whenever there is landing, even if somebody has traveled through aeroplane, you will know that jerk. Now that much of impact when it is coming on the ground has to be designed in such a way that it will be able to take that loading. So the design is done by a civil engineer. Okay, so that is all about your transportation engineering. Then comes water resources and irrigation engineering, where you will be dealing with all the reservoirs. Dam is a reservoir. What is a reservoir? I will store the water for the basic purposes of a humankind. It is a big reservoir, big tank like, right? So dams, examples are dams, like Rakascop Dam is there, Hidkal Dam is there, right? So these all dams are what? They are reservoirs. We are storing the water over there, and that water will be supplied to the people throughout the year, apart from the rainy seasons, for their daily usage, right? So that is all about water resources. And irrigation engineering, civil engineering there is a subject on irrigation engineering where they'll be dealing with types of crops and what time the crops have to be grown, crop rotation, and that is based on the soil also is coming over in picture over there, what type of soil is available. And when I'm dealing with water resources and irrigation, for irrigation, rain is required. So what time of the year it is going to be rainy season? What is the catchment area? Right? So catchment area means where there is rainfall more and the water is going to get accumulated. So all this will be dealt in your irrigation and water resources. So water is essential to our lives, and water resources engineering deals with the physical control of the water, identification and development of resources of water for agricultural field and water power generation. So power generation is because of the dams, right? So that will be connected to the power generation. That is why it is important for civil engineering. So they work with others to prevent floods, supply water for the city, industry, agriculture, etc. They design, construct, and maintain hydroelectric power facilities, canals, dam, pipelines, pumping station, locks, seaport facilities, etc. So you have water coming, drinking water coming in your house, no? That is a design, right? From the Rakascop Dam, like I'm living in Belgaum city, so that water comes, right? Rakascop. So there is a pipeline. That water which is standing in the Rakascop Dam, that will be treated, okay? And then that water will be distributed through the entire city. Now one area mein one day it comes, another area another day. In one area it comes at 10 o'clock, another area it comes at 2 o'clock. That means they have designed all this also. These also are kept in mind. And the pipeline is available. There's a main pipeline, then there are small pipelines through which the water is being supplied to the houses. So this all is designed by a civil engineer, okay? And irrigation, wherein we'll be studying about the properties of the soil and the crops. Then comes hydraulics, that is study of flow of water. Civil and mechanical engineering students have a subject called as fluid mechanics and applied hydraulics, where they study about the properties of water. Now, when I told initially properties of soil, similarly, this is property of water. How a water is going to behave. For a general man, layman, it is simple water, it is flowing. But for a civil and a mechanical engineer, the property of water is very important. It can cause havoc. You have seen no floods. So it is very important for us to know the property of water. Where all this comes into picture, you have turbines. Have you heard the term turbines? So in turbines, it is because of the water. So I need to know the water properties. So in civil engineering, what are the main concerns of hydraulics is river water, water supply, irrigation, and drainage. So here all water is coming into picture. So when I'm designing these water supply, irrigation, and drainage, because I'm dealing with water, so I need to know the properties of the water. So that is what is coming under hydraulics. Hydraulic engineer is the one who handles the work of the design, erection, and construction of waterworks, dams, and water operated power plant. So MTech, WRE, it is called water resource engineer, okay, or hydraulic engineer, MTech. There is water and land management also is a scope of civil engineering, MTech in that. So wherein they deal with all this water and land management or hydraulics engineering or water resources engineering. Okay, then comes your construction technology. You can see this picture. There is this big crane. Why is this crane used? For construction purposes, for materials, right? So construction technology means the new technology that is coming into picture at the construction site. Now, whenever I say a construction site for you, because you have not seen, you will only probably remember your house construction or somebody neighbor's house in that lane, or maximum G+5. Have you seen the Baby's Day Out movie? I hope at least some of you must have seen the Baby's Day Out. Old
Yes,
movie.
ma'am.
In Baby's Day Out, it goes at the construction site, no? So I'm talking of such big site. In that movie, actually, you will be able to see the crane also at the end when he's hung over that on that crane and thing, right? So that is actual construction site. So when I have a big site and a big project, I cannot deal with only human working over there. I will require equipments which will do the work fast, efficiently. Such big site, such big building, I need good amount of technology to be implemented. So that all is about your construction technology, where these people, MTech in construction technology, CT, they will be studying the new techniques, new methodologies, how to plan. Like for example, I started the construction in the month of June, and I know there is going to be, it is a rainy season. So if there is heavy rains and floods, my project is going to get delayed. If it is going to get delayed, how am I going to compensate for it? Or what I will have a plan B. What is my plan B? So that is all about planning. You have to plan, you have to schedule, and then you have to execute your plan, right? So this is all about how the work has to be carried out. What is the number of laborers I will require? How much I should pay to them? How much materials I'm going to require? Do I have to get all the materials and dump them at once, or I have to get materials as and when required? Where am I going to store the materials? What type of equipments I have to use? Those equipments are very expensive. So should I buy that equipment or should I rent the equipment? What is the efficiency of the equipment? So this all comes under your construction technology field, where industry plays a significant role. Okay, when materials, machinery, and money are termed. And then there are the main objectives of construction management are given here, that is completing the work in time, maintaining the reputation for high quality workmanship, taking sound decisions. That is, decision making is very important for a project engineer at that site. Something is going wrong, he should be in a state to decide what has to be done next. And developing organization, I think, yeah, developing organization that works as a team is all about your construction technology. And next is town planning and architecture. Town planning means, if wherever you're staying, okay, whether you're in Belgium or you're you're not localite, wherever you're staying in your house, in that area, there is a pattern. There are houses, if you have noticed. People have not built houses anywhere they want. There is a pattern, right? Now, for example, people will know Belgium city, Bhagyanagar, cross 1, cross 2, cross 3, cross 4, cross 9, it has reached, right? What are they? They're all parallel to each other. And in that parallel lane, to the front and to and fro, there are houses built. That is town planning. They have planned it. So this, Buddha and all we say. What they do when there is an area, they will plan that this is the road, and then the plots are divided, because they want that tertiary road, they want the people of the house to move out also, and they have to reach their locations. Say for example, I'm living in some third cross of Bhagyanagar. I want to go to Hari Mandir. From the third cross, I will come to one cross, and from there I will go to that Hari Mandir main road, right? So this is what? This is planning made. The sites or the plots are divided in such a way that for the people who are living over there, it has to become easy for their transportation wherever they are going. Or if I don't have that and I simply make square plots and I sell them, and people will construct houses anyhow they want without leaving for road and all, imagine what a havoc it is going to be, right? So that is a town planning, wherein it is planned accordingly. Best example is you take a Bhagyanagar only. From cross number 1 to cross number 9, all parallels are there. and that all of the parallels have got in between one perpendicular roads, and those perpendicular roads will go and meet the main road of your ungold road, right? So if somebody who's staying here will know. If you're not staying here, it's okay. Wherever you are staying, you just visualize your area. There is a road in front of your house, and you have neighbors, you have people in front of your house, right? So they're all parallel. So that is what is your town planning. Not only that, they take care of, if sometimes in villages also what happens, water, there is a common tank, right? So that all also is going to be taken. This is for what? Growth, residential growth for the people, for residential area growth, and then they should be able to transport easily. Sometimes now these new things are coming up, wherein parks are done. There is a park, there is a gym, there is everything in that area locality only, recreation areas and all. So that all comes under town planning and architecture. That is township also it is called. Okay? Infrastructure. Can anyone define what is the infrastructure? I have another 5 minutes. Can anyone define what is infrastructure? Quickly, I don't have time. What do you understand by infrastructure? Quickly.
The physical and organizational structure.
Yes, correct. Anything else? Is it only the beauty of the, like for example, JC has got a good infrastructure. When I say this, is it you're telling this because of the building, how it is planned, how it is, how beautifully there is the architecture of the building? It should not be only on that. I will only answer the question. You all are not answering, right? A good infrastructure means it has got all. Like, say, we will take the example of JC. JC has got a canteen, food. Canteen means food. It has got washrooms on each floor, right? Drainage system is proper. That means you have your phone cellular networks coming into the classroom and everywhere in the campus. There is internet facility available, right? So when all the necessity or what is required for the people is available in one place along with the structure, it's not only structure, along with the structure, that makes it a good infrastructure. When I say a good infrastructure, I should have communication lines, whether phone, earlier it was only phone, land phones. Now you have mobiles. So because you have mobiles, I have to talk in terms of networks, right? Where there is network, there is internet facility, then there is food, there is washroom, right? So transportation to that place becomes easier. Like there is a good transporting facility available. Then along with all this, if it is good to look at the building structure, architecture, then it is a good infrastructure. Okay. So economic infrastructure, social infrastructure comes into picture. So here he's written the types of infrastructure. I can I can categorize these infrastructure based on certain points. For example, like communications. For communication, I require good roads, rails, airports, and all. So I can communicate to different places using roads, rails, and that is a type of infrastructure, that is communication. Telecommunication should be present. That is postal, telegraph, phone, etc. Shelter, right? Residential, commercial, public utility, educational institutions should be present. Now, I gave you example of college as good infrastructure. So when I'm talking of a nation, our country should have a good infrastructure means it should have all this. Or Belgium should have good infrastructure means all these points have to be covered. For example, communication in Belgium should be easy. The networks, telecommunication should be easy. Shelter, that is good amount of residential buildings, commercial buildings are present. Water supply and environmental, that is drinking, industrial, sanitation. Electric power, that is electricity should be present. I forgot to tell you this. Electricity, then food control, etc. Right? That all makes it a good infrastructure. So the infrastructure development has major impacts on the country. If these are good, the economy of the country is going to be high, right? So there is a question on impact of infrastructural facilities on socio-economic development of the country. So they all are connected to economic or societal, because of the society, how there is going to be gain to the country, right? So that is the impact. So large-scale budget provisions by the governments on the infrastructural facilities makes way for rapid industrial expansion and agricultural development. These development leads to what? Employment. So when I have a bigger project, I need people, so I will employ people for that. When I employ people, I'm eradicating the poverty and improvement in the per capita income, right? The emphasis on the provision of infrastructure facility is urban oriented. You have rural and urban. So majority times it is urban oriented. This leads to negligence and inadequate development in the rural area. So many a times you will have malls in the cities, not in the rural places, right? So that is why it is called as inadequate development of the rural areas. Consequently, rural people involved in agriculture move towards the urban areas for their livelihood. This has become now a serious impact on the agriculture. The earlier agriculture was given importance, but because of this, what is happening now? Those rural people are coming, village people are coming down because of the beauty or these things that are going on in the city, and they're ignoring the agriculture. The other effects of urban congestion, shortage of housing facility and all is increasing because of this. And role of a civil engineer in this, next class I will take this role of civil engineer. It is important you get this question, and then I will start up with the introduction to engineering mechanics in the next class. Okay, anybody's got any doubts?